First up to bat, we have Aaron Cox. Next up to bat, we have Heather Greenway.
What do you guys think you're doing? Get off the field. Softball team is canceled. Didn't you know that?
No. What do you mean,
Get off
bro?
the field.
Title IX.
I don't care. Get off the field. Just get off. Yes, I can. I'll go get the authorities right now if you don't get off the field. Now let's go.
That's whack.
You are about to enter the courtroom of Judge Judith Scheindlin. The people are real. The cases are real. The rulings are final. This is Judge Judy.
Hello everyone, today we have a case that is being appealed. This is between Roberts and Colorado State. I see that the plaintiff, which is Roberts, did not like the district court's response, so now we have an appeal within my court against the defendant, Colorado State. How's everyone today?
We all right over here. You all right?
Plaintiff, what is your argument?
Our argument today is that by taking away the softball program, we believe that the defendant didn't meet any of the three prongs, which means that Colorado State is not allowed to take away our softball program. We need to be able to participate in the fall in order to get us ready for a successful spring season. The district court says that we don't need a fall season, but we believe that we do.
Okay, defendant, what is your argument?
We believe that we comply with the Title IX, we meet the second prong.
Prong 1 talks about how the opportunities for male and female must be even. So the textbook definition is intercollegiate level participation opportunities for male and female students are provided in numbers substantially proportionate to their respective enrollments. Prong 2 talks about how no individual can be underrepresented, or that they have to show they are trying to comply with Title IX or show a history of trying to comply with Title IX. So the textbook definition of Prong 2 is the members of one sex have been and are underrepresented among intercollegiate athletes, whether the institution can show a history and continue practicing of program expansion, which is responsible to the developing interests and abilities of the members of that sex. Prong 3 is very similar to Prong 2. So the textbook definition is that members of one sex are underrepresented among intercollegiate athletes and that the institution cannot show a continued practice of program expansion such as that cited above, which I just said, whether it can be demonstrated that the interests and abilities of the members of that sex have been fully and effectively accommodated by the present program. So the part of fully and effectively accommodated by the present program is part of Prong 3 that's not included in Prong 2.
We added 11 women's sports out of nothing in the 1970s, and women's golf, and we added women's golf in 1977.
Well, it's 1993, so that's just not even close in timeline.
Okay.
But so as you can see, there's a big gap between 1970 and 1993. That shows the defendant's argument is not valid.
Thank you, Judge. CSU has not maintained a practice of program expansion in women's athletics, and indeed has since dropped 3 women's sports since then. This is important because they are not in any movement in expansion to comply with Title IX. The rate declined steadily during the 1980s, and women's sports has declined by 34%, while men's sports has only declined by 20%.
Defendant, just so we are clear, did the district court tell you that you need to hire a coach promptly, recruit new members for a team, and organize a fall season?
Yes, we agree that we should have afforded the opportunity to present a plan to the court that would have brought it into compliance with Title IX, rather than order to reinstate the softball program and required to take other specific actions with respect to its management of the team.
Whoa. What?
Yeah,
Wait,
don't even try to go ahead.
You know that to be successful, we need a fall season.
Whatever, bro. Whatever.
Alright, whoa, settle down. We have come to a ruling. I've decided to take the district court's decision and affirm in part and reverse in part. The district court ordered an equitable remedy. The defendants should have been able to present their own plan for adding the softball program back. They do need to recruit new members for a team and hire a coach, but they do not need to offer scholarships. With this being said, the district court overstepped its boundaries by saying that they need to have a fall season. A 1993 fall season is not required.
Introduce yourself, please.
Hi there, I'm Jared Cook. I'm a member of the Mercyhurst men's lacrosse team, and I'm number 31.
What are your thoughts on this case?
I think that I like the end result of the case where the softball team should be held here, just based on the fact that you need to have an even balance between male and female athletes. So I agree with keeping the softball team alive, and I know they'll do some damage in the long run.
Do you believe the softball program should have a fall season?
I do think they should, just based on the fact that every team here on campus, whether it be lacrosse, women's lacrosse, croquet, bowling, they all have fall seasons. And that is just to benefit them when they get into spring game time situations. It's good to get practice and games in the fall and use your dates up in order to become a better team and win championships. So I'm very excited to see what they can do next fall. I think it's very valid to have them to keep going in the fall.
Today I am joined by ACHA goaltender Patrick Bosinger. Patrick, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
So today we're going to talk a little bit about the Colorado State University versus Roberts case. So Patrick, are you aware of that case at all?
I heard of it before, but I could get a little run today.
So just to give you a brief recap of it, basically what happened was Colorado State cut both of their men's baseball team and their women's softball team, but due to the inequality at the school of the sports, the women's softball team brought a case on the school to bring the team back in action, and the decision was reversed so that the team was put back into place, even though they did end up missing the fall season. But, Patrick, is there anything like that, like Title IX back in Switzerland?
Yeah, there's definitely something like that over there back home as well. But I have to say, overall, the equality you guys have over here is definitely not as high back home.
So back home, I know there's only a few major sports. Is there anything like Title IX when it comes to college, or is there any college athletics at all?
So interesting, back home we don't have college athletics, so the big difference, that's one of the bigger differences between here and back home. And yeah, so back home, if you want to play sports in any particular way, you're basically going to play in the club sport or play professionally. So that's the two options you have: play professionally or club sports, which is most likely to be a recreational way.
So when it comes to those professional sports, seeing as how there isn't a Title IX to guarantee that sort of equality, is there a big disparity when it comes to men's sports versus women's sports, or would you say it's pretty equal?
Oh yeah, it's pretty big actually. I mean, if you look at soccer, which is probably one of the biggest sports back home, or like overall back in Europe, one of the top teams in Switzerland, the men's teams, they get literally everything. They get good transportation, like over coach buses or planes everywhere. They get the best physicians in the country, good food, and obviously a very good salary. Meanwhile, the women's professional players like hockey or soccer, they struggle to survive, first of all, and second of all, they also even struggle to have a locker or any kind of transportation to the games.
So would you say that it would benefit Switzerland or any other European country to put into action something like Title IX to create that more equal balance between men's and women's sports?
I would say it would be definitely like kind of asked and also a little bit beneficial, but at the same time, you have to say that the attention and just kind of the interest of the people is not as high overall in sports, and especially women's sports back home or anywhere in Europe, than it is over here, where you guys have big college leagues for both genders.
All right, well, Patrick, thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me.